Detective Talk of the Day, the 27th day of December, 7:42 a.m. It's foggy here, boys and girls. Alright, yesterday, for 6 hours, me and my buddy read a pair of Manticores. Now, he had never run a Manticore before, ever. Alright. I set his machine up for him. 23 sensitivity, he ran the stock call. I let him run all-terrain high conductors at a 9 upper ferrous limits, and I lowered it to 8 for all-terrain low conductors. He did real good with that machine. He found one going deep running all-terrain low conductors, boys. We don't know what it is. It's not silver, okay, in this old site. He had a pile of dirt out of that hole to get that thing out. But we don't know what it is. It could be an old weed head, but I ain't for sure. One thing he said about that machine, now he's got a DS2 and he's had it for a while. He said, boy, this thing is quiet. Alright. Well, I'm not at liberty to say which call I was running with the Manticore, but I had mine at 27 sensitivity, boys, and that damn thing was quiet as a church mouse. Okay. Now, as far as the iron that I dug the only thing, and I ran my upper ferrous limits open up there like I've been showing with the all-terrain low conductors. I only had one object in 6 hours to come in that window. Part of a horseshoe. And it's not pictured here. I left it down there under that big elm tree because I didn't want to pack it around. Okay, that was it for 6 hours. I ran for 5 hours and 15 minutes. I ran the all-terrain low conductors down there too. I did run the 5x8 call toward the end, and I'm going to comment about that for folks wanting some information on the Manticore. The Manticore is a very good unit in a relic site, okay? Real good unit. I suspect a lot of these finds right here would not have either been located or they wouldn't have sounded as good using any other machine. Okay? Any other machine. Now remember, I have other machines. Okay? I'll let you see what I've got here. That's a flat button. That's a flat button. I think some of these are them snaps. There's part of the front of a button, copper wire. Okay, now I did dig that with the M8 call. I dug this right here, but really because just it was behaving so suspicious. And you see what that is. Well, that's a lead. I don't know what that goes on, but that's a monster. I dug that with the M8 call on a polluted side. This is foil, if you can believe that. Okay. Some lead here. I think these are some short pieces of aluminum. That machine performed very good. The conditions, ground conditions, wet. Not extremely wet, but very close to being extremely wet. It was muddy down there. I've hunted in wetter ground and one time in my life with this same gentleman I was hunting with. Okay. So the Manticore is a very good unit. You know, you just can't take a detector on your back deck and do a few tests and write it off in favor of other models. If you do that, you know, you're not being very fair to the unit. Let me turn this camera off briefly. Okay, camera back on. So I can't tell you which call I was using yesterday. I wish I could. And I would have showed you all some of these live digs right here, okay? Now the M8 call, I'm just going to give you some advice here. These calls are starting to show up for people in a high iron site. Based on what I've seen yesterday, after using 2 different size coils on the Manicore. And this sort of goes hand in hand with some other machines. Even the DS1 with that elliptical HF coil. You probably need to run your upper ferrous limits down a little more on the screen. A point or 2. I was running a custom with a 13. Now remember, the scale's different running the preset versus the custom, but I was running 13. Well, the first call I used, that was a dynamite setup, okay? Because the iron was not giving me any problems whatsoever. But now when you change the footprint of the coil, you know, the parameters change a little bit on the detector. So, you know, like you can't run a 6.1 disc with a elliptical HF coil and a high iron sight on a DS1. You have to run something like a 6.4, 6.6. With a Manicore, I probably would have been better off having a 14 or a 15 using the custom instead of the 13. Okay? But anyway, my buddy was impressed with the unit. He's going to use some more. We don't know when we're going to go hunting again. It's supposed to get cold and snowy here, I guess. The audio on this machine, and some of these targets in this sight, you know, well, all these targets really, was tremendous, okay? It's not, there's very little guesswork. And you know, and when you take 2 detectors, and even if you'll have somebody that may have run up on some of these targets I located with another model. Oh, I can hear it, I can hear it. Well, it's not exactly a good test. Because you're already anticipating. You know there's a target there. So the audio on this machine, it runs extremely quiet, okay? Compared to a lot of other machines I've run. Extremely quiet down there. And there's a gas substation down there too that could be emitting some possible EMI. Now I did noise cancel the machine, not for any particular reason other than about every 35 minutes I would do a long press noise cancel. Okay? And me and my buddy stayed, with 2 Manicores running, we probably stayed, well, we were always inside of 100 yards of each other. Probably, truthfully, we were more like, we were inside of 50 feet of each other, okay? Using this equipment, a lot of times even closer than that. And still, that machine remained stable for me, and he said his was too. Alright? There's a 13-acre field down there, and there's no telling if I go back down there with the setup I was running yesterday for the first 5 hours, what could be found, okay? There's non-ferrous in these sights. I don't even think people realize what's in them. You know, because you could take some other models out there and go through them. Well, there ain't much left here, boys. Well, that may not be true, depending on what you're running in that sight. Not all metal detectors are created equal. This is December, and this makes 13 years since I've been doing this, okay? 13 years. Anyway, I hope everybody has a nice day.